Straight in the dance mood. Welcome to today's lovely webinar on social anxiety. And with social anxiety, many people signed up, but few showed up. So that was today's fun. Sorry, Jason, I stole it from you. So lovely to see you all. And if you're watching the recording, we're really happy that you took the time to sign up so you can take a part of this lesson. I'm going to give the floor over to Jason and take it away.
Thank you. It is actually not just a joke. We have a whole bunch of people who have signed up for this. It's of course sunny, but when you have social anxiety, it's hard to show up, especially in person. So there is some kind of divine symmetry to this situation. So good on you when you did show up. Social anxiety is something that we all deal with to a greater or lesser degree. You see that in both people who seem to be extremely extroverted, almost like performers when they get into a social setting, that like to be in the middle of the spotlight. They often are overcompensating for some kind of tension that they have or energy buildup that they have inside them, that they then release as the performer. They step into the role as a performer to compensate for the nervousness they have meeting people's expectations and an insecure or unknown situation. And then you have people who completely avoid social situations because they have social anxiety. And almost everything good in the world happens in relationship to other people. So if you're a therapist, you have to have people that need therapy. If you're a nurse, you have to have people who need nursing. You'd like to make food, you're gonna have to make it for people, and you have a boss and colleagues, and it's very difficult for people to walk through their lives and not to interrelate with anybody around them. So this is a very important issue for us to handle, and it also underlines a very important point that we'll get back to later, called up, down, inside out living. So, um, social anxiety. So let's break it down a little bit. If you were going to try to separate anxiety from social anxiety, is there a big difference? Anxiety is the fear of something bad happening in the future, right? Social anxiety is the fear of something bad happening in relationship to other people or yourself. And why is this the thing? Your primitive brain understands that you need the tribe in order to survive. So for us to do public speaking or to show up in a group and have to take our place in a group is, of course, instinctually a little bit nerve-wracking, especially if you don't have a lot of practice doing that, right? The interesting thing with phobias and anxieties is that you have different phases. The first one is just the terror of the emotion, right? You have the terror of the emotion, but you haven't really put any label on it or contained it or named it. So a lot of my people, my good, lovely people, understand that they like their own company and also, weirdly enough, avoid absolutely all social situations, but have never really understood that that's social anxiety. Some of my other good people will do anything they can not to have other people's focus on them and will actually avoid situations that are good for them because they are afraid of not meeting other people's expectations. Raise your hand if you have that. I think all of us have, right? Because we want to be good. We want to be, the person who fulfills, at least shows up in a way that's good. And when you don't know what the target is, where are you going to shoot? So that creates a lot of insecurity, right? And then the next phase, once you have named it, you have to frame it. You have to figure out where this anxiety shows up in my life and how it shows up in my life. So you name it. I have social anxiety. True story. I threw up next to my neighbor's post box every morning for months going to work because I was so overwhelmed with having to meet all of those people all day long. Social anxiety, visceral reaction, cold sweats, nausea, throwing up, shaking, right? Probably talking too loud when I got there. God bless them. Those beautiful patients who put up with me. Social anxiety. So I named it. Then I framed it. I figured out, okay, when is it that this thing happens to me? What is it? So is it if I have one patient during the day or if I have 10 patients during the day? Is it only patients? Is it when I'm going to a party? You have to frame it to figure out when does that anxiety start to move inside me? And this is important. And I'm just going to have to put this a little bit on the spot. In the integrated human, we work up, down, inside, out, always. So where do your emotions come from? The outside? Do they attack you? Are they falling on you like they can feel like they're bricks, but do they fall on you like an avalanche? Or are they stuff that happens on the inside? It's on the inside, and you have to, like I said, you have to name it and then frame it. So your emotions are created by who? By you and me, inside me, right? We have a strategy that comes from our awareness, more or less, our universal awareness, our worldview, our personal philosophy that creates our emotions. AKA, you got a strategy for feeling good or bad. So anxiety shows up when your strategy, conscious or unconscious, is fulfilled. So I found out that if I had anything over 10 patients in a day, my body went nuts. And it was weird because if I had nine, I was fine. If I had 10, I was like, ee. If I had 11, it was like, oh my God. And don't even get me started on the really busy days. Then my hair was on fire. Like it was hard to get me in the car. I got myself in the car, but it was difficult. Okay, so I'm speaking to you not from a book. I'm speaking to you from deep research in myself because I have and have had social anxiety and have solved that thing for myself in a way that I have helped others solve it too. So you name it, you frame it, and then you have to integrate it. Now, how do we integrate an emotion? Like I was talking about in the book that I'm writing, Predicting Success, we talk about pure consciousness, universal awareness, and we'll define these things for you in the book and maybe in another webinar. Your worldview, right? How the world is and how you believe the world is. Your personal philosophy, how you roll in the world, right? And you get that from your mothers and your fathers and your teachers and your preachers. They taught you how to roll in your life, and hopefully it's rock and roll. You have emotions that motivate you, like anxiety. And first understand that most of the wonderful things in my life have come from my anxiety. I've won world championships because of my anxiety. I've gotten my butt to training because of anxiety. I've realized that I have to pay attention to what people are saying because of my anxiety. In fact, anxiety probably has saved my life more times than happiness. Raise your hand if you that sounds reasonable, right? Being anxious all the time and being out of control with your anxiety sucks. But you need anxiety. Anxiety is an amazingly motivating, energetic emotion that can help you achieve the greatest things in your life. And in fact, I used to use it against myself. I used to imagine, for example, when I was training for the world championship in jiu-jitsu, I would imagine my opponents being twice as big as they really are, with gnarly ass tattoos and criminal records for just murdering people in jiu-jitsu tournaments. I was like, oh, I had better work out. I had better do my job because these guys are ready. And they were ready, but they weren't usually that bad when I got there. But I was using my own emotions to motivate myself, to scare myself, right? So when you integrate your social anxiety, what you'll be able to do is show up interested, energetic, aware, and ready to receive people in social situations. Raise your hand if you'd like that, right? So the easiest way to break a phobia or anxiety. Now, please understand, I've done deep research on this. And I could, of course, recommend antidepressives, SSRIs. I could recommend psychedelic trips. I could recommend all kinds of stuff. I'm not, because the only real way to deal with phobias and anxieties are to confront that situation. You must put yourself in a situation, and that's what I'm saying. You have to name it, you have to frame it, and you have to integrate it. You must understand that the anxiety or fear that you have is not coming from the outside. It's coming from the inside of you. So is it bigger than you or is it smaller than you? Since you're making it, you should actually be larger than it, even if it doesn't feel that way. So the action plan is to slowly but surely take control of the situation and start to utilize the energy of the emotion. Okay? Now, if I were to ask you to count back from 100 to 1, would you be able to do that? Yeah, we could do that, right? Even if I put a gun to your head and said, you miss a number, you're going to be missing. You could still do it, couldn't you? Now, if I did the same thing, but I ask you to count down by sevens, 193, uh, the more complicated something gets in an emotional state, the more impossible it gets. Do you understand? So I'm freaked out and I'm going to go to a social situation that I'm terrified of, and I'm going to expect perfect behavior, I'm going to expect fulfilling everybody else's needs, even if I don't know what their needs are. And I'm going to walk out there being Moses because everybody's going to have to love me for me to feel that I succeeded. Does that sound like a simple thing? Probably not. Probably not, right? I'm probably putting a little bit of a unrealistic expectation since I can count back to 93, but I can't count the next one. Right? How? So you have to work up, down, inside out. You have to first have a strategy or a plan that's simple. If you're really terrified, do you think you can do this? I'm Jason. I'm Jason. I'm Jason. I probably can manage that even if I'm terrified. If you can't, you can do this. So your plan is going to be simple. You're going to decide that you're going to say hi to three people in that situation. And weirdly enough, if you've ever put all your clothes on to go for a walk in the winter because you really didn't want to go out and you just promised yourself, I'm just going to go outside for 2 minutes. I should walk for 40, but if I don't want to walk after 2 minutes, I'm going to turn around and go back inside. How many times do you go back inside? Never. You never do it because it's the beginning, it's the threshold of getting things rolling that's terrifying, that's uncomfortable because people don't like change. They don't like the unknown. And just like going for a walk, walking into a social situation or a situation where you don't know what kind of demands people are going to have on you, the worst part is just breaking through to say, hi, my name's Jason. Now, you're going to sit back in your chair and you're going to say, did he just say my social anxiety can be fixed by just sticking my hand out and saying hi to a couple people? Isn't that a little simple? My friends, it is simple. That's right. But it has to be a simple plan because when you're in a highly charged emotional state, in order to tolerate being centered and being active and being effective in that emotional state, you must have repetitions. Who's ever heard Martin Luther King or Nelson Mandela or Barack Obama speak? Do you think they were born like that? Or did they take the time to get the repetitions to speak in front of millions of people that usually it started as a kindergarten class or as a trying to become school presidents or and they probably failed horribly, just like I did. I embarrassed myself talking to the student body so many times. I was promising them no homework and I was freaking I was telling the students that they didn't have to come if I was going to be student body president, they wouldn't have to come to school anymore. You know, I was just losing myself because I had to have something to say and I was in a highly emotionally charged what? State. Thank God that was fifth grade. So can't hold me accountable before the age of 15. Come on. So my point is that you have to name the emotion. You have to frame it. When is it happening to me? Name it, frame it, and integrate it. The integration means put a handle on it. You gotta put a handle on it. Use the emotion some way by making a simple plan. And this is the difficult part, but also the simplest part. You must have repetitions Standing in the emotion. Must. That is the only way to work with phobias and anxiety. Now, who of us have observed that at barn dances or local parties, that the gentlemen often have to medicate themselves heavily before they dance? They medicate themselves with what? With water. Monet, come on now. Yeah, not water. Yeah. Yeah, you have water. Yeah. Now, the reason why they do that is to disassociate themselves from their emotions in order to participate. This is a solution to some point because you get to a point where you can dance. And hopefully, if you get enough repetitions, maybe you can do it without the self-medication, alcohol. But generally, the boys don't get better over time, do they? In fact, many of my chiropractic patients are the ladies who get thrown into the walls and into other couples by these heavily medicated men when they start to dance. If you've been one, don't raise your hand. Don't embarrass the guys. Yeah, please. Now, taking SSRIs or antidepressives in order to handle your emotions unfortunately gives the same effect. That's why I don't recommend. Taking a step beyond your own frames, your personal frames, which are, of course, your worldview and personal philosophies, those are frames, right? Breaking those frames with psychedelic drugs can also help. But that's again doing that from the outside what? The outside in. That has some consequences. Why? Because with every time that you use an outside in therapy in order to fix something from up, down, inside out, to fix something inside you, you lose the repetition of handling your own frames. You lose that opportunity to relate and integrate into yourself. And it generally doesn't lead to an upgrade in your life. And I'm not saying it's impossible to do it or I'm not moralizing over it, but I'm saying you miss the repetition. Because after all, this life is whose life? It's your life. You were given equipment. Don't you want to learn how to use the equipment? And the equipment is who? You. You were given a childhood. You were given an education one way or the other. And you can say it's good or bad or trauma or not trauma. It's amazing. It's cursed or it's blessed or whatever. But you're given you. So learning how to relate and run yourself and run your own frames and expand and contract your own frames and handle them is the ultimate self-control, the ultimate evolutionary step. Take all of the Buddha and the Krishna and the baby Jesus out of it. You must learn how to relate to yourself and how to handle and manipulate your own buttons, pull your own handles, and learn to present yourself to the world. So, using drugs and alcohol, using pharmaceuticals and psychedelics is in general not the best method. Generally, the people who are using heavy chemicals in order to have this effect, again, I'm not moralizing. I'm just saying this is where in that name it, frame it, and integrate it are still trying to figure out the name and frame. Do you understand? Because if you can name it and frame it, you know how to avoid it if you want, right? Unless it's a necessary thing in your everyday life. But if you don't know how to integrate it by confronting it slowly, or you're put in a situation where you must push yourself into that situation and it blows your circuits, then medication can be extremely helpful. So I'm not moralizing, and I won't say that again on this webinar. But in terms of integrating things for yourself, it's much better if you accept small movements forward in order to conquer something worthy. So, what's more important? Looking fabulous and being everybody's fulfillment at one party, or slowly learning how to handle your own anxiety so that you can use it as a superpower to achieve everything else in your life? One or two? Yeah, right? Definitely number two. Sign me up. I'll fail 20 times, 30 times, 100 times. And guess what? Most likely, if you set a simple plan, like I'm going to say hello to three people, that's my job today. I'm satisfied. I'm terrified. I'm walking in and I'm going to introduce myself to three people. And then I can go home if I want. I bet you won't go home, number one. I bet you probably enjoy yourself, number two. And number three, it's going to be a lot more easy to say hi to three people next time. You may even say, I'm going to say hi to five people. I'm putting myself on the line now. I'm going to push my boundaries. I'm going to say hi to five people, Jason, 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 and keep moving forward. And if I want to go home, I can. So slowly but surely, you expand your frame consciously, and you will learn that that anxiety will start to work with you instead of dominate you. So this is probably the clearest method that you can use for breaking social anxiety. There's a couple of other aspects that I'd like to talk about, though, because being afraid to meet people is one thing, but who is terrified of not filling other people's expectations? Raise your hand. Right? I'm terrified. Why? Because instinctually we know that if we're not part of the tribe, we die. Even though it's actually not true, but our primitive brain feels though we're terrified of people and terrified of not meeting their expectations, terrified of talking in front of them, terrified of getting in their way, terrified of being looked down on. The reality, to speak completely true, is that most people don't think about you. This is the truth. Most people, you think about you, and guess what they're thinking about? They're thinking about them too. They're thinking about how you make them feel in the moment, but the next moment they're thinking about how the next person's making them feel and the next person's making them feel. And weirdly enough, if you ask somebody for help, they like you more, weirdly enough. And how many of us who want to fulfill other people's expectations don't need anybody's help and would never be a bother and would never ask for anything, especially in a social situation where we have anxiety, right? Because you want to, oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. The social psychological mechanisms that people work with are that they're not thinking about you, they're thinking about how they're feeling, and they would love to feel connected and like somebody who's worthy of asking for help. Meaning that if you want to upgrade the strategy of saying hello, 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 okay, I got my three, I can go home if I want. You can upgrade it by saying, hey, excuse me, I was wondering, Could you tell me if you know those people over there, where they come from? Are they from Vos? Are they from New York? Are they from our area in general? Do they know each other? Asking somebody a question, having them help you be oriented in a situation allows them to integrate, allows them to feel at ease and like an expert. You create a connection instantly. And that also breaks down the barrier inside anxiety, that barrier where anxiety lives. Do you understand? You break through the veil of the mind in that situation. So that's another piece of that. But the expectations that we're going to fulfill in other people, where are those expectations actually? Where do they live? If you're going to point a finger that way or that way, what direction would they actually be going? Right? Exactly. Our social anxiety is actually a self anxiety. It is a hyper focus on every tiny thing that can go wrong or every tiny imperfection, when in reality, you not being perfect makes other people feel okay and at home. So, do you think you'll make more friends by making people feel inferior or making them feel superior? Just as a weird question. Okay, inferior, throw up a one, making them feel superior, throw up a two. So you think the two exactly. Oh, she won the prize. That's right. So making people feel superior in some subtle way, without making yourself dumb, of course, allows them to feel good and okay. So us not being perfect actually is more human. Do you understand? That you don't talk like everybody else. I speak with an accent in three languages. Americans don't believe I'm an American. Norwegians think my dialect's weird. My Italians look at me strange because I have a perfect accent in Italian, but I forget words left and right. And they're like, what's wrong? All of those things make it okay, right? So that's to start with. The fact that I'm sweating bullets right now. My face looks like I've been in the sun for 3 weeks. I haven't, right? Having to be perfect is also an aspect of our stress state, our default network, default mode network. We have something that's underlying in our subconscious that make us do the things we do based on our emotional states. Breaking down that emotional pattern of social anxiety or expectation fulfillment by having a simple, doable plan, like going and introducing yourself, weirdly enough, will break down your habit of having social anxiety. And I'm going to tell you a weird secret. You can never and will never fulfill everybody's expectations of you. So if you feel you have to do that, I also feel like I should walk on water and fly without an airplane, but it's probably not going to happen. I sink, and it's not funny because I don't swim well. I try to fly and I fall fast because I'm heavy. It's just what it is. So, understanding that it is absolutely, positively impossible for you to go there should clue you in, should frame you. You should name that as my anxiety going from down up. My emotional state starts to push on my what? Personal philosophy that I must be perfect in all situations. Pushed up, pushed up, pushed up. The world is going to go down and burn if I'm don't hit every key perfectly and don't answer everything perfectly, and the world's going to end, and that God's not going to love me, or my friends, the world, the universe is not going to accept me anymore if I don't show up perfect. Does that sound reasonable? Not at all. But do we do it? Right? Consciously or subconsciously? How many times have you messed up and not lost your job, not lost your relationship, not lost your life? We're very seldom in a situation these days where a tiger's going to eat you. You have to name it. It's not really as dangerous as it feels, is it? You have to frame it. These are the situations where it happens to me. And then you have to start to integrate it. And framing it also says, my hyper focus on my need for perfection is my emotions going the wrong way. I tell myself how to feel. And that's you actually do when you're conscious. You have a strategy for it. Who made the strategy? You made the strategy. You may not have been awake when you did it because you could have been a kid. But often people who have social anxiety are children that have been shamed socially as punishment. Did you know that? So shaming your children publicly will create social anxiety. Now, correcting them is different than shaming them. True or not true? Who's been corrected by mama? Yep. In a grocery store, yes, I have. Thank you very much. But that was actually not the reason for my social anxiety. And this is not a therapy session for me. We can do that later. But social anxiety is something that happened as a child that connected expectation of reactions from the outside in. Or you were punished in a situation where you should have known what you were going to do. You should have known what the expectation was, but you didn't meet it. So if you would like to do work, it's one of those two. If you would like to do some personal work and look at your past and try to figure out which one of those is the strongest emotionally for you, and then not put yourself in the position of the traumatized child, but put yourself in the position of the adult parent trying to save the child from further future damage, to see why it was that that was at that time the appropriate move from the parent. That's an integration because you can see something from more than one perspective. And that's a technique that one can use. It's not 100% effective, but it's pretty powerful. It's like 80, 90% effective. So if you can look at that position, not just from the child, but from the adult, because you are now adults and you see the context differently than you did when you were a child, to see how that was actually helping you. And very often those traumas unite and disappear. Now, would would you feel better in your life if the feeling of being at home and connected was with you all the time? So when you sit at home and you're relaxed and you feel connected, it's your spot and everything's good, would it be a good thing to have that with you all the time? If that's the case, then you would like the triggers, the mechanisms for that feeling to be very simple and portable, that are controlled by who? You, right? How many of us have made the mistake of giving the mechanism of feeling loved to other people? To feel love to other people. She has to do this, he has to do this, they have to say this. I come home and that's not, they obviously don't love me because of this and that and that. They prefer this, that's obviously not love. How many of us have mechanisms like this? Absolutely. Those things are details in your life, but who is it that's creating the feeling of love inside you? You are. So wouldn't you like to take responsibility, but also power over that? Wouldn't you like to take power over your own emotional range and state? Raise your hand if you think that would be great. Or do you want to outsource that to a person who doesn't care about you, who doesn't think about you, and doesn't really mind? That probably sucks, right? Who's ever been smashingly in love with a person who doesn't even know they exist? Whew, that sucks, right? J-Lo, you broke my heart. No, I'm just kidding. So she broke my heart, didn't call me up. So, in the same way, that mechanism for social anxiety, that mechanism for feeling fulfilled, should have triggers on the inside of you. Did you fulfill your mission, not their mission for you? Do you understand? When I walk into a social setting, I walk in to be myself and to open myself. So what do I do having massive social anxiety? I introduce myself to how many people? Three people. And why three? Why three? Why is three the magic number? Because your primitive brain, where your anxiety and social anxiety lives, can count to three. Three and more is many. So emotionally, you said hi to 100 people. So that's lots of reps. And if you really want to be an overachiever, say hi to four. Take it to a whole nother level. Your primitive brain's like, oh my God, we said, oh my God, we got so much exposure today. Right? So in the next flow state, we are going to be deep diving on roles that help you design and plan your mission so that you can show up in situations acting up, down, inside out. The roles that you choose are like armor. When you know what you are about and you know what your goal for the situation is and you know how you have to be, things become simple. When you're running around and you don't know who you have to be, how you have to be, how you have to perform, what you have to deliver, how that person's doing today, how you're supposed to therapize them so that they can have a good day. Raise your hand if you ever have to do that with the people at work. I know Marit does. I come in and I'm like, ah, and she's like, ah, and she's like, just kidding. Yeah, understanding what you are about, the roles that you've chosen, not only allow you to show up stronger in a powerful way, but they allow you to protect yourself from all of the things that you could imagine these other people wanting you to do. You stop being a bull that's being pulled around by the nose ring, and you start being the bull that's pushing forward to the things that you want done. So, do you want to hang out with powerful, directed people or people who are shaky and don't know how to be or what to do and are not sure they want to be there? Right? Power and directed, shaky and not sure they want to be there. Raise a finger, please. Exactly. So who do you want to be? You want to be that number one. You want to be that directed, armored, focused person. Doesn't mean that you're not sensitive, but how much time do you use developing these frames, these roles? The reason why social anxiety gets you is because you don't have that frame, you don't have the direction. Okay? So at the next flow state, what we're going to be focusing mostly on is creating those frames and making sure that you show up in the role that you need in order to be most powerful in those major positions in your life. And one of them could be social. So remember that I talked about in the beginning that some people overcompensate for their social anxiety by doing what? They play a role, they become the performer. Remember I said that? Yeah. But becoming the performer is taking on a role, isn't it? It's taking on a mask because they don't want to show them their true self. But what if you could choose the role that is truly you, the powerful, collected, directed version of you who wants to show up because they have a mission? So, the way that I've met challenge on the jiu-jitsu mats in the world championships and European championships was that I had a mission. I was playing the role of the warrior. I had a mission and I had tasks. I made it simple for myself. Does it make sense? Just like going in and saying hello. And then because I was collected and focused, that thing became very simple. The anxiety was there for energy, but didn't distract from my process. And that's what I wish for you. So you got to name it, you got to frame it, and you got to integrate it. All right. So since we are in a situation where there's not that many of us in our social anxiety group that have shown up because we have social anxiety, the whole long list of people who have signed up, but only the bravest that are here. God bless you. Do you all have any questions for me before we do a little bit of moksha and then sign off? Moritz.
I always have fun. I always get the bull. The day I understand what triggers this, I'm gonna be superhuman. This does not do it. Anyways, I have a question regarding continuation on what we talked about with kind of introducing you as Jason or Malet. I assume I'm gonna use my name. How do you continue the conversation in say you are in a social situation where it's a birthday party where you don't know any of the other guests, or how do you kind of um, continue the conversation? Because sometimes you meet kind of the introvert that gives you very few uh, little to work with.
You ask questions.
What kind of questions?
Remember that making a person feel superior by asking for help.
Hmm.
Do you know where the restroom is? Do you
People
know
will
if there's
maybe
more than one restroom?
I'll ask all the five people where the
You could.
toilet
You
is.
could. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or do you know where the restroom is? Oh, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Do you know if there's a line? Or, wow, I love your blouse. Where did you get it? Or, isn't this place amazing? It's so beautiful here. Do you know everybody here? Something simple,
Hmm.
something very simple. But it could be that the social anxiety just stops you at saying, "Hi, I'm Jason." Maybe they ask you a question,
Hmm.
but understanding that the tactic of asking a person a question or asking them for help doesn't signalize weakness from you. It signalizes trust and respect for them. Do you understand? So when you feel like, oh, I don't want to show that I don't know everything, you're actually excluding other people from connection and being valued. This is an important point. Asking them for help and their opinion about something lifts them up and gives them value. That is a great way to make an entrance into a social setting. So, sorry, I was sitting on my cord here. So, um, I believe somebody asked, Sunna, did you ask if I could repeat how to integrate it?
Yeah, Suna asked, could you repeat how to in
Okay. Okay, I'm going to ask you for a favor, Sunna. You're going to have to do the hand signals with me. You have to name it, you have to frame it, and then you have to integrate it. Okay? Excellent. Thank you. And the reason why I did that was that you're going to have to do something three times, anything. So if in the example that I used was that if I ask you to count backwards from 100 to 1, could you do it? Of course you could. Even if I put a gun to your head, right? Because it's simple. So your emotional state can be all cray cray. It can be crazy, out of control, and you still 100, 99, 98, 97. But if I asked you to count backwards by sevens, and 100, 93, and then I put a gun to your head, it's going to be very difficult for you to count, isn't it? The more complicated and out of ordinary an action is, the more difficult it is to do when you're emotionally charged. Social anxiety is an emotional charge of anxiety. So you must have a plan. You've named it. I have social anxiety. I frame it. It happens to me when I go to parties like this. Okay. So I have to have a simple plan in order to walk into this party. What am I going to do? Am I going to start counting back from 100 by sevens? No. Am I going to start to try to figure out socially what everybody wants from me and how I can heal their life and supply them with the best possible life ever? Am I going to impress everybody with my artistic skills? Or am I just going to say, "Hi, I'm Jason. Hi, I'm Jason. Hi, I'm Jason." I give myself something simple like introduce yourself to how many people? Three people. Name it, frame it, integrate it with three actions that are the same. Because once you've done that, you have broken the pattern in the primitive brain and you started to dismantle the barrier that comes from the emotional charge. Instead of allowing the emotional state to create an imaginary situation in your head, you turn it around by making your mind activate your emotions into an action. That is what integrates the emotion. The emotion starts to work for you instead of against you. And if you do this repeatedly and slowly add things to it, in the end, you do this like an Aikido master. The anxiety rises up and you're like, ah, my old friends, let's go get it at this party. Let's go. And you just get out there. And the proof of the integration that I said is that many of my hardcore athletes and people who just like to go for walks feel that they don't want to go out or they don't always want to train. Maybe it's bad weather, maybe you have dogs, you have to go out, the snow is going sideways and it's cold and it's nasty, and you just make a deal with yourself. If I go outside, I'm going to walk for 3 minutes, and if I still don't like it, I turn around and I can come back in. Almost nobody ever goes back in again because once you start walking, it's okay. The same thing when you've introduced yourself to those three people. Are you going to bail on the party or are you going to stick it out? Almost everybody sticks it out. And this is the powerful integration mechanism. Now, there are people that are still in the name it and frame it situation. And maybe they need help from a psychiatrist or a psychologist to help them name and frame. But once you understand what it is, you can easily integrate it with this easy step. Does that make sense? So 90% or more people can use this method in order to break their social anxiety. All right. I see that I've talked your heads off here. So we'll save the moksha for next time. I hope that this was useful for you. And I hope that you write this down and you practice it. Now, can you only name and frame social anxiety, or can you do that with absolutely every emotion? You can start working with your own fulfillment mechanisms in order to be a happier, more powerful you with this method. All right. Who wants 5 minutes of moksha? Raise your hand. Okay, we do it. All right. Me too. All right. Please sit and close your eyes and become aware of your breath. Feel it move in and out. In and out. I'm going to count from 1 to 10, counting the in breaths and the out breaths. And as we reach 10, then start over at 1, always staying with your breath, always coming back to your breath. 1, in, 2, out. 3, in, 4, out. In, 5, out, 6, in, 7, out, 8, in, 9, out, 10, and continue counting your breaths 1 to 10, and start over and continue to count. And slowly, slowly come back to me. Come back to us. Use about 30 seconds or a minute just to slowly, slowly open your eyes. Take your time. Thank you so much for this moment. I appreciate you, and I hope you use these techniques. It's going to be amazing to get your feedback as you name it, you frame it, and you integrate it. Thank you very much, and have a beautiful evening.
Thank you so much, everyone,
Mhm.
for coming. Our next webinar will be a free one. That will be the theme we have, Jason.
Yes, it is love, relationships, and how not to get divorced.
Yes, exactly.
Snap.
Have the exact same face when
Woo!
comment like, ooh, snappy. That's gonna be fun. So we'll see you all in August, I hope. And for the ones that are attending Flow State, we can't wait to spend a weekend with you in September.
Mm.
We're really excited about it. Things are starting to shape up for it. Um, Jason have me ordering things now, so it's gonna
It's
be
gonna be
epic.
crazy. It's gonna be so good.
Gonna build something for you guys, so I will need to get out my tools.
Yep.
So we're excited. So thank you everyone for joining us at this extremely warm day in Norway. And we hope to see you all soon.
Yep.
Have a lovely evening.
See ya.